I'm Roger with Roger's Outdoor Channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about a little more serious outdoor topic, and that is why Washington doesn't have more tsunami shelters to protect against something we know is going to happen. Our scientists say we're overdue for one on the Washington coast, and that if one happens, that is a significant enough wave associated with it, a lot of people are going to die. So one of the things that has bothered me, I got into this fairly heavy about 4.5, 5 years ago. I actually formed a company called solidhighground.com, or Solid High Ground anyway, and started working with some cities and looking at FEMA regulations. Actually hired an engineer to design a building that we felt would meet the FEMA regulations at the time. That 32-foot building, 5,000 square feet, 2 stories. Actually looks like this. You can see it on my webpage. The issue is that Washington, is located on a fault line about 600 miles off our coast, where the two Pacific plates come together, similar to the structure of the Earth's crust that they have offshore of Japan. And they kind of press against each other, and eventually that plate slips and drops down, and there's a big wave that, there's an earthquake followed by a big wave that comes in and does a lot of damage. Japan, you read up on some of the things that have happened to Japan and, Indonesia, other parts of the country. Anyway, it's going to happen, in our area, but nobody knows when it's going to happen. They say anywhere from a 10% to a 33% probability that it's going to happen in the next 50 years, and that a major event is going to happen in the next 50 years, but nobody knows exactly how tall that wave is going to be. FEMA and the Washington Geology Department did some studies. They found a 1,000-year worst case wave, and they said, okay, a 30-foot structure will probably, that will suffice in most locations. And communities ran with that for a number of years. They tried to build one down at Ocean Shores. They tried to build one, a berm over in Long Beach. They tried Ocean Shores, or Cannon Beach rather, tried to build one. And then Ocean Shores tried to build a couple of them, a little museum and a, office structure. And they keep running into cost issues on trying to meet these regulations. And that was, a 30-foot structure. Well, the powers to be decided, well, that's not good enough. What if the wave is taller than that? And, so they found we're a 2,500-year worst-case storm. They dug through the dirt, etc., and says, we had one. 2,500 years ago, we had one that produced a 60-foot wave and in a lot of these areas. And so now they, after I designed my building, etc., they designed the berm over at Long Beach and Cannon Beach, kind of went through their scenario. They decided, no, that's not good enough. So everybody's work got just thrown out. What needs to happen? What I basically did was I got this two-story structure that with the open floor, open air concept that lets the water flow through, and I said, okay, let's make this building, where it just doesn't sit there for 50 years waiting for the wave to happen. Let's use the building. Let's have concerts on top, or farmers market underneath, or maybe even enclose the building using a technique called blowout walls, where the walls will blow away without tipping the building over, and you can make office space in there and generate some revenue from all of these uses and some interest in visiting these areas. So I went to the communities and I said, look, if I went out and I did crowdfunding or grant funding or something, and I raised $1.5 million to build the shell of the structure. What I want you to do is provide me the land for free, the utilities to the structure, the water, sewer situation, the parking, and if you want it enclosed, you have to, pick up the tab for building it out to your specifications. The community said, it's great, but we are just afraid that we have a liability issue, that if the wave is taller than that, and people get killed, that, we could get sued and lose our jobs or, our livelihood. And so they basically said, if it's not to FEMA specifications, we don't want to do this thing. So, the problem that I had, the thought process I had was seatbelts save lives. We're required to use seatbelts in our state or across the country. And yet, if two cars, and it's been demonstrated they will save a lot of lives. But if two cars are going opposite directions fast enough and they collide head on, they ain't gonna help, they die. And so there are limits to seatbelts, and there should be limits to, how big a wave do we protect. I was on Hawaii once, and told to clear the beach, and that there's a 15-foot wave due to hit here, soon. So we went back up on the top of the hill, and the next day I went down there and said, what happened? Looks the same as it did yesterday. And they said, oh, actually the wave only turned out to be a 1-footer. But down this beach, it was a 3-foot wave. I mean, look, nobody knows, how big this wave is going to be. The 30-foot wave, structure that I designed to, what used to be the old FEMA requirements, will save a lot of lives. The problem that happens is when that earthquake and tsunami wave, occur, the first thing that happens with the earthquake is that the roads collapse. They just break apart with the, this liquefaction process that they have. The sand turns to a mushy liquid and it cracks the roads. So you have to get somewhere within 20 to 30 minutes of when the earthquake, has triggered itself, that is higher than the wave that's coming your way. And in places like Westport, for example, you'd have to, go several miles. And because of that, you can only go 2 miles during a 20, your warning period is between 20 and 30 minutes. You can only get a maximum of 2 miles. So you need several of them. Westport needs 8, Ocean Shores 12, Long Beach 27, I think the number is. So a lot of these are needed, and you could build bigger structures, FEMA, 60-foot wave requirements if you can afford them. But these are practical. You can do things with these buildings, etc. But what the legislator needs to do is they need to do like they do for people that do first aid. Have a Good Samaritan law and say, hey, they built these structures to withstand a 30-foot wave, and it was taller than that. They tried to save people. Just hold them harmless. That would allow the communities to say, yeah, we want to build some of these. So what I want you to do is I want you to, look at my webpage, first of all. I mean, not that the design that I have is the only thing. I mean, I looked at what Japan did and, just took some estimates from there on what worked, etc., and, came up with this structure, but other structures would work too. Anyway, look at it, because it'll give you some ideas on, as I talk about the, the thought process that I went through in coming up with this thing. And if it rings any bells with you and you say, look, we need more of these, more shelters to be built. 2. We've got one at Westport and one at Tokeland. That's all we've got in the state for the last 50 years. We need 100. in order to save a lot of lives when this thing happens. And science says it will happen. We don't know when, we don't know how tall the wave is, but it's going to happen. And the best time to build a shelter is before the tsunami occurs. That's when you're going to save lives. So if I'm making sense to you, if you think that this is a good idea, again, visit my website, etc. And contact the people that can make this happen are our legislators, our governor, our state senators, our representatives. Tell them, you can go to their website and say, hey, Maria Cantwell, just governors, whoever, and they have an email address, etc., and say, look, we need more shelters. I want to go dig some razor clams. I want to go catch some salmon. I want to go down to the beach, and I want to have some kind of structure that at least gives me a chance to get to some high structure if the earthquake happens while I'm there. So I hope you will follow through on this. I could really use a lot of people saying this is a serious topic, and I agree with it. Enough that I'm going to take some action. If enough of you take action based on it, it's going to happen. So I hope I was convincing enough to make you, in particular, be the one that carries the ball a little bit further. Oh, and don't forget that I have written material that goes on my channel that will help you, highlight some of the specifics of what I'm talking about, as well as my website.